Hey everyone, this is Yatn Mulecha, an engineer turned candle maker and owner of my new baby venture, yours beloved, and V Candle Supplies. At V Candle Supplies, apart from selling candle making raw material, there's another aim that we have is to help new candle makers and guide them through all the initial queries that they have when they start their candle making journey. And in order to do that, we also created a group, Facebook group by the name Candle Making Supplies, Candle Making Tips and Supplies India. And people have actually started posting a very interesting queries on that. So in the same way, a person, I won't be taking her name, posted some really good question, about 10 to 11 question in just one single post. And initially I was about to give an answer in the comment section itself, but then I thought it will be much interesting to actually go and shoot a video. So here I am answering all those questions one by one to best of my knowledge. And if I am wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comment section, because I want you all guys to go in the comment section and tell me what you like about this video and what you think that can be improved. So starting the question that she have actually posted. Number 1, is it right to mix different kind of waxes in one candle, like paraffin wax, different quality, and soy chunks and soy flakes? The short answer for this will be yes. Yes, you can blend different kind of waxes in a single candle. For example, let us take an example of paraffin wax. Paraffin wax in India is actually we actually get the paraffin wax from namely two sources. One, NRL, second, IOCL, and both of the waxes, the fully refined one, they almost have similar characteristics, are not suitable for making, they are suitable for making candle, but the candle which we get from just using those waxes is not, I would say, up to the mark. So in order to get a gorgeous candle from NRL or IOCL paraffin wax, we actually have to add different waxes and to create a beautiful blend to get a gorgeous texture, vivid colors of, and also a good cold throw and hot throw as well. So yes, so it is actually completely fine to create a blend of different waxes. Question number 2, does the candle loses its fragrance if it is kept in open? So guys, let us take an example of pillar candle and a jar candle. Let us discuss jar candle first. So before talking about candle, let us understand why we smell, why we get the fragrance or the cold throw from a candle. What happens is, when a scented candle is kept aside for a while. Now there are two situations in the jar candle. One, the candle is screwed tight with the cap, and one, it is kept in the open. Now what will happen? The thing is, guys, first we need to understand why we smell the candle, right? Why we get the cold throw. What happens is, the fragrance molecule or the aromatic molecule keeps on diffusing from the wax. It may be, you will notice that in summer you will get a better hot throw from a candle compared to the winter, because the aromatic aroma molecules are diffusing at a much higher rate in summer, right? So those very aroma molecule or scented fragrance molecule, when they are kept in a closed jar, they get trapped inside that jar. So when you open that jar, after a day or maybe a 2 day or 3 days, you get a strong whiff of those trapped aroma molecules. But when the candle is kept in the open, those molecules kept diffusing in the air. So that's why we get a feeling that the candle has lost its fragrance. But guys, this is not the case. The wax does not easily loses its fragrance. If the fragrance oil is of a good quality and the wax is also of good quality, then the candle will not lose its fragrance so easily. It's a different topic when we are talking about keeping the candle in open for about a year or 2 year, 3 year down the line. But about a week, 2 week, 3 week, or maybe even a month, no, it will not lose its fragrance. Rather, yes, as I said, because the aroma molecules are not getting trapped, the concentration of the fragrance or the strength of that fragrance, will not be that high. Same is the case with the pillar candle. Pillar candle, when sold in the market, they are actually covered with the plastic film in order to keep those aroma molecules preserved. So, but that doesn't mean when we open that pillar candle and we kept it inside our home, that it will lose its fragrance. No, it will not lose its fragrance. Yes, only difference is those aroma molecules which are getting diffused at a specific rate from the wax are not getting trapped. They are actually releasing in the air on a constant basis. That's why we don't get a sense of high smell from the candle which is kept in the open. But that being said, it does not impact the hot throw. The hot throw of the candle will be the same. But again, we are not talking about 2 year or 3 year down the line, because that is something that even I will have to do some research on. So moving further, okay, this is a very, very interesting question, and do listen to this carefully. I melted the wax once, added fragrance and color, but some of the wax was left unused. Happens with most of us. Later, I melted the wax again and added the fragrance again. Does this impact the cold throw and the hot throw of the candle? Well guys, it is very, very crucial to understand that a wax has a maximum capacity to which it can hold the fragrance oils. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, for example, if the wax have a maximum capacity to hold 12% or maybe 15% of the fragrance oil, and we add more than that maximum capacity, after a day or two, maybe sometime after a week, the extra fragrance oil that you've added will start leaking out of the wax. It will not get blend. It will start leaking out from the top of the wax or maybe from the side. Now what will happen is, when you burn that candle, there is a risk of those fragrance oil droplets to catch fire, and it can be a very, very dangerous fire hazard as well. So it is always advisable to keep a track on how much oil you are adding in the wax. So since in India we don't get that information, specific information very, very easily, a general rule of thumb that I use is I never go beyond 12 to 13%. I always keep 12% is the maximum load which I use when I want my candle to smell very, very strong. Usually I just keep it around 10%. By 10% I mean 10 gram of oil for 100 gram of wax. Now coming to her question, in this case what she did, since she is melting the wax again, there is a chance that some of the fragrance will get lost during this period, because we are reheating the wax, and the wax will diffuse some of the fragrance. In this case, just make sure you are not adding more than 2 or 3% of the oil, because again, if you have already added maybe 10 to 12% of oil in the wax, and after the blend, for example, you might have created a blend of paraffin, microcrystalline, and some China paraffin, and created a pillar candle, maybe a jar candle with this particular blend, and you ended up adding, because we are creating a blend of so many different waxes, you cannot be sure what will be the maximum capacity of that wax, of that blend, right? Because microcrystalline is a man-made wax. It is a petroleum-based wax, right? But again, it's still a man-made wax, and different manufacturers have different way or different specification, right? So you cannot be sure that yes, this will be my maximum load. So you have already added maybe 10 to 12% of the oil, and you are again adding 5 to 8% of the oil back again, or maybe same load back again to the wax. There is a high chance you may end up overloading the wax with the fragrance oil. So make sure when you are reheating the wax now, either don't add the oil, or if you feel that you need to add the oil, make sure you are not adding more than 2 to 3% to mitigate that risk factor. Okay, so question number 4. When we burn a candle, there is a smell of candle burning as well. Does that affect the fragrance in the hot throw? Well, this is the first time which I am personally hearing a smell of a burning candle. There's only one point when I have actually smelled a burning candle, is when we actually blow off the candle, right? When we blow the candle, the wick start producing white soot, not the black soot, the white soot, and it have a certain smell to it, the smell of a burning cotton. That is the only time I have actually smelled a burning candle, but other than that I have never smelled that. So this is something which I don't think I can actually answer, but I haven't faced this particular issue and actually have it affect my hot throw or the cold throw. Question number 5. If the wax is left unattended unknowingly and the entire wax have already been melted, it is still on the burning gas, so it keep on heating, reaches around 200 to 250 degree Fahrenheit. What are you doing? Okay, sorry. The thing is, first thing is, if you are melting the wax on a heating stove, it is always advisable to use a double boiler method, because this helps you control the temperature of the wax. But then again, if you are making a candle large quantity and you don't have a proper melter with you, so in that case obviously you don't have much time to play around with, to wait for the wax to melt in a double boiler. So in this case you can do one thing that you can do, because I have done this as well. You can actually use heat sensing laser sensor thermometer, and you can use that to keep a track of what is the temperature of the wax when it is melting. So and as soon as it reaches the maximum temperature that you want to hit, take it out from the stove and use it. But again, the situation is, you have said that you have left it melted unattended unknowingly, and it has reached that certain temperature, 200 to 250 Fahrenheit. So there are sub part of the question as well. In this case, does this impact the quality of the candle? Yes, it does. Specifically when we are talking about beeswax candle. Beeswax candles start changing its color beyond 180 Fahrenheit. The gorgeous yellow color that you see will turn into dark brown if you're going to let it heat at such a high temperature, and it will impact the quality, the characteristic of the wax, the quality of the wax, as well as the color of the final product that you're going to get. And also in the case of soy wax and paraffin, when you're heating these waxes at such a high temperature for such a long time, it will start producing smoke, it will start burning, right? It will start producing smoke, and specifically in case of paraffin wax, that smoke is very, very harmful. So don't let it happen. Don't keep the wax unattended unknowingly, because it is also wax. Also, one more thing, waxes have a flash point as well. So even though, for example, paraffin has, beeswax have a flash point of 200 Fahrenheit, and you are heating it for 250 Fahrenheit, even though it will not catch fire unless there is a fire present in that, unless you actually light it up, but it is still a risk factor that you need to be sure of, or that you need to understand, is that always make sure that you are present when the wax is melting, because you might have left it unattended, and your pet or your children might drop the wax and may end up burning themselves. Subpart number 2, what should be the highest temperature of melting any kind of wax? So different wax have different melting point, but I would say, if you still want to know, what you can do is never heat the beeswax beyond 175 or 180 Fahrenheit. Keep it below 180 Fahrenheit because it changes the color beyond 180 Fahrenheit. So always just keep it around 175. The reason I am talking about keeping it around 175 Fahrenheit is because beeswax starts to get hard very quickly, and we have only short amount of time compared to other waxes to actually add the color or fragrance to it and pour it into the jar. So you only get beyond 155 Fahrenheit, it will start to get hard, and the texture of the poured candle will change drastically. For soy wax, again, you can keep the same temperature range. No, don't go beyond 180 Fahrenheit. And for paraffin, I would say keep it around 160 to 155 to 160 Fahrenheit, maybe 165 Fahrenheit maximum. This gives you ample amount of time to add the color, to add the fragrance to it, and to actually pour it into the jar. Just around 165 maximum, or even if it touches 170 Fahrenheit, this is also fine, but just make sure you don't go beyond that. How do I decide what should be the maximum temperature, or at which wax should be melted? I guess my previous point answered that as well. So question number 6, how do we decide what size of candle should be used in what size of room for a perfect hot throw experience? So let us talk about the average room in India. So to have the room filled with good fragrance, I would say for a 100-gram candle, it takes around, if it is a good highly scented 100-gram candle, it will take around 1 hour to 1.5 hours to fill the room completely. I mean, you will still have fragrance when you are sitting near the candle, but to fill the room completely, it will take around 1.5 to 2 hours. A 100-gram jar. A 300-gram jar will take a lot less, because a 300-gram jar some of the 300-gram jars have a very wide mouth, so the surface area from which the wax is being diffused is larger. Hence, it is able to cover the larger. It is able to fill the room much faster, around half an hour to 1 hour. Question number 7. To test the melting point for a particular type of wax, while melting the wax on the gas, I noticed the starting temperature at which the wax starts melting. Is this the right procedure? Well, the thing is, when we the melting point of the waxes are actually tested in a lab. There are specific tests, high precision tests, to figure out the melting point of the wax. But then again, if you just want to get a general idea or a general range at which the wax starts to melt, this is something that you can do at your home as well. What are soy flakes? How can they be used? I am getting cracks in them, and how can I reduce them? Okay. Soy flakes. The soy wax is made when we run the soybean oil via hydrogenation process. So there are generally two kind of hydrogenation. partial hydrogenation and full hydrogenation. Soy flakes are made by full hydrogenation of soybean oil. When we process the soybean oil by a full hydrogenation process, what it does, and this is not the exact scientific answer, I am just giving you the basic overview. What it does is that it takes out most of the oil content from the so-called wax that we get, and that lump of whatever is left after taking out all the oil content after the full hydrogenation process is then run via shredder, sort of a shredder machine, which actually creates those flakes. Now, since soy flakes doesn't have high oil content, it actually have very hard and brittle texture, due to which it tends to form crack when you're making candles with them. Now, there are ways to go to mitigate those issues. One, if you're making a jar candle, either you can add 30 to 32% of coconut oil in the soy flakes, and you will get a decent looking candle with a very good hot throw and cold throw. Second thing, you can actually create blend, and you can do the same thing with in case of pillar candle as well. You can actually create a blend of different waxes, like blending it with soy chunks, maybe paraffin or even beeswax. So you can create those blends to mitigate those issues. Moving further, is it preferable to use only one kind of wax at one time? So I am sort of skeptical what exactly the question is, but let us assume that the question that she is intending to ask is, should we blend different waxes to make a candle, or should we use just one type of wax to make a single candle? Well, the thing is, you can do both. You can use a single candle, like you can just use soy chunks to make your candle, or you can create a gorgeous blend of beeswax with soy chunks, with soy flakes, or maybe just add paraffin into the soy chunks if you want. So blends are actually created to mitigate the limitation of the wax. For example, as I said, soy flakes require you to add either coconut oil or maybe different waxes to be able to use it to make a candle, right? Also, the blends are also used to reduce the cost of the candle, like adding paraffin or soy in the beeswax to reduce the cost of the candle. This is not ethical if you are not actually telling your customer that you are doing this, but if your customer knows about the blending that you are doing to reduce the cost, and if the customer is fine by it, this is something that you can do to make affordable candle as well. So moving further, what according to you is more in demand, pillar candle or container candle? I don't think there is I don't think you can actually compare that. Both the candles have different market for it. Different people love different things. Few people will love a gorgeous pillar candle. Few will go crazy for a gorgeous design jar and have gorgeous design jar candle. So it just depends on the kind of the target audience that you want to hit. Personally, I like the jar candles for the designs, but I also love the pillar candle for the versatility of design that can be created by using just one single mold. Let me explain that. So, for example, you only have money to buy one mold, that is 3 by 3 inch cylindrical pillar mold, a basic 3 inch by 3 inch height and 3 inch diameter, and you only have money to buy one mold. Now, what should be done? Actually, you can create not just one but 5 to 6 different kind of pillar candle, just by using that one single design mold. You can create a white candle basic white candle. You can create multicolor candles. You can add layers of color in a single candle. You can either straight layers, or you can add slant layers to create a diagonal effect. You can add swirl pattern marble effect to it. You can maybe you can actually add crackling effect on the surface of the pillar candle. You can add different texture to the candle as well. For example, in pillar candle, if you pour the the paraffin wax at different temperature, like half is poured at a lower temperature and top half is poured at a higher temperature, you will get different texture of layers of different texture in the same candle. So the versatility that you can create in a pillar candle is limitless. So that is one thing for which I love pillar candles. And yes, there is a specific market. There are different market for both kind of candles. So I don't think you need to compare that. You just go for just make what you love making, right? What you enjoy making, and also try to understand your target audience, that what they love, what do they love, that audience that you want to hit, right? So once you get that, so it will be much easier for you to decide which kind of candle you want to go for, because it may happen that the target audience that you want to hit is only interested in tea light cups or tea light candles. So it doesn't matter if you're using jar candle or pillar candle, they just specifically want tea light candle or maybe those floating candles. So always understand your target audience first. Okay, this is the last question. Are container candles preferable for perfume candles or scented candles? Again, I won't say that. See, jar candles are specifically used for making scented candles, yes, but that does not mean that you cannot create scented pillar candles. Scented pillar candles also have a very good market, because just imagine you have created gorgeous design of gorgeous looking pillar candle, and you can add a fragrance to it and it will just enhance the experience. So it is not something that you say, it is not a hard and fast rule that for scented you need to go pillar and for unscented you need to go for jar. You can create candles as it pleases you. Yes, for jar candles, you need to go for scented, because this is what we actually unscented jar candle people may not be looking for. But yes, for pillar candle you can go for scented as well as unscented. There is no hard and fast rule for that. So I hope this answered all of your question, the one who actually posted these questions, and also I hope all the other viewers who are actually watching this video get to learn something new from this video. So this is Yatim Lecha signing out for now. Thank you.